Reddit, what's your no good deed goes unpunished story? My manager finds wallet in a cart at work, brings it straight to me and I look and wallet for it. Call customer to come get wallet, comes and picks up wallet and then calls the police and tells them I stole $400 out of her wallet. I got to make a statement and everything. Video is reviewed and proves she is full of it. Customer is still outraged and the police have to literally show her the video and threaten her with jail before she backs down. Wallets just go straight into lost and found now. I make no effort to contact people anymore. Got my parents a huge bouquet and those expensive fruit dipped in chocolates bouquets for their first anniversary since I started work. Mom comes in from work, sees the bouquets and says of course your dad wouldn't have gotten this. He's done nothing for me in all these years. They had a huge fight and my flowers and fruit just sat there on the dining table abandoned. I've had crap like this happen before. Hope you're okay, bro. Worked with a guy that was a recovering junkie. He was pretty bad at his job at first and my boss wanted to fire him. I felt bad for him and respected what he was trying to do. Worked with quite a few junkies that made no effort to get better. So I talk the boss out of it, tell him I'll be responsible for him. Pull him aside and give him a pep talk. Tell him I believe in him and want to see him do good. It was a pretty good job and paid well. I take the time and train him as best as I can. The time comes when we have to put in some real work. 12 hours and it takes everyone pulling their weight. He's slow. He's relapsed, I'm pretty sure. He ends up falling asleep standing up in the middle of a particularly dangerous job. My boss looks at me and I nod like, yeah, that's enough. I pull him aside and tell him, look, we can't have you around like this. You gotta go. No hard feelings. I wish you the best. But you're putting everyone in danger here. Sorry man. He yells at me for a bit. He collects his things and leaves. When I finally get off work after pulling his weight the rest of the day I realize he stole my wallet on his way out. Hope you're doing better, Jimmy, but frick you man. This is why you shouldn't help junkies. I went to drop my son off at his absent mother's grandparents' house while I went to work at the prison. I notice that his grandpa is pale and sweating profusely. He says it's just heartburn. I put my hand on his forehead and his skin is cold and clammy. I convince them that something is wrong and call an ambulance. I then call work and explain the situation and that I won't make it in. Grandpa ends up having a 5 bypass heart surgery that night. Doctor says his heart stopped on the operating table, but he survived. I go to work the next day and get disciplined for calling work late. We once had someone call in late saying they had broken their leg on the way to work and had to use the hospital's phone because they broke theirs, and then the absence line workers told him he would receive a warning for not calling in 24 hours earlier. Offered to babysit for a couple of friends in my mom group as I only work 3 days a week. Now everyone tries to drop their baby off when they need a sitter. Charge them. That will stop it quick. Had a friend that had fallen on some hard times, was talking about not having food for her kid to take to lunch, so I went and bought her some grocery staples, milk, eggs, bread, peanut butter, and such, along with some lunch items I knew her kid would like. Dropped it off to her and as she was going through the bag she goes, "This bread isn't gluten free, you know I can't eat it." I was shocked. Yeah, I knew she couldn't eat regular bread but her kid could, and I brought food her kid to have for lunch. I've done that before. I took money from my food budget and bought them food. Everything I bought were things I had eaten with them before. All the wife could say were things like, "I don't like this anyone and IDK why you bought this." I felt like crap for buying them groceries. I worked as a popular vendor that sold food, drove a step van. One of my biggest stores had an employee whose car broke down a few miles away and couldn't make it to work. We had a zero tolerance policy for riders. I was on my way to his store, made sure he was fully buckled in and explained to him I could be fired if he freaking told anyone I was doing this. Suspended the next day as soon as I pulled into the parking lot. He freaking called my boss to thank me. I am a police officer. Our department used to carry lockout kits for people who locked their keys in the car, locked a kid or pet in on a hot day, or otherwise needed to get into the car. The way they work is you wedge a small airbag in the door jamb to open the door a little, then put a long thing pole-like thing through the space and either pull the door handle or hit the power lock button and voila, door is unlocked. Anyways, Sometimes doors would be slightly damaged, or cars scratched or dented in process and people were suing the police department, or asking for reimbursements when this would happen. Ultimately our department decided to get rid of the lockout kits, and if you lock your keys in the car you have to call a tow truck or locksmith to get them out. Now if there are kids or pets in the car on a hot day, rather than using the lockout kit and using minimally invasive methods to get them out, we smash a window. I locked my keys in my car once, and a buddy I know scratched my car trying to open it. I bought him a 6-pack and thanks. Frick these litigious Saw a very drunk girl walking alone on the streets and 2 guys tried to walk off with her. Ran after her and I got her an Uber home. She threw up in the Uber and I was charged $150. There was a guy who helped me with her and said if she did throw up he would pay for it. Tried contacting him about it later and he ghosted me lol. My sister is a drug addict. Would constantly ask to borrow money or would steal and lie to get whatever she wanted. Convinced my mom and I that she was finally turning her life around and got a job at a local McDonald's that was within walking distance as she doesn't have a vehicle. Only problem was that she said needed some black work pants and some new shoes to start working. I learned my lesson a long time ago not to give her cash, so I took her shopping to get what she said she needed. Long story less long. She never got a job and took everything I bought her back to the store for a refund. I worked at a shoe store and a lady asked for our special breast cancer awareness shoes. My grandma died of breast cancer, so I wanted to help her. We didn't have the shoes, so I ordered them from another store in another district. The shoes were going to be direct shipped to her house. I'm not allowed to do this, but I bent the rules for this lady. She bought the shoes but didn't seem happy. She complained about the price because Kohl's had them cheaper but not in her size. 2 hours later she comes back with a friend and wants an immediate refund. The way ordering shoes from other districts works means I can't refund her. Basically you buy a gift card for the price of the shoe and send the info to the other store who uses it to buy the shoe there. Our system didn't let us refund or return gift cards. So I have to call my district manager and explain that I broke the rules and ask how to fix the issue. Meanwhile this lady is crap talking me with her friend the entire time. Calling me stupid and lazy. Saying young people just don't know how to do anything. She gets her return and continues to crap talk me. This is during a busy Saturday. I still had her address, so I mailed her an anonymous glitter bomb. Good work. Fostered a dog for a friend who ran into a bind with housing. Her other dog attacked me when I picked Foster up, leaving permanent scars on my face. Foster then proceeded to destroy everything from electronics to carpets in my house. No compensation from friend. You misspelled something. It's actually spelled ex-friend. Not me, but a colleague couple years back. Works as a teacher and takes his class on a week's work experience stripping out a big old office building. Heavy duty labor. Second day he notices a girl not eating when they break for lunch. Talks to her and discovers her parents neither gave her food nor money to buy food. She hadn't had dinner the night before or breakfast and didn't expect to eat that night. So being a good bloke he runs down to the shop, gets her a sandwich, bar of chocolate, a drink, etc. She eats and they crack on with the work. Next day he finds himself suspended as the girl's parents found out he fed their daughter, that they were too lazy or uncaring to feed themselves, and claimed he was trying to groom her. 2-week suspension for investigation. He was completely exonerated and came back to work, but has since said he's hurt because now he'll never be able to do the right thing again for fear of that happening. Used to be a PC repairman, so I know my stuff. Had to use my relative's somewhat old laptop. Realized it was running ridiculously slow. Disk was always at 100% usage. It had numerous bad sectors. Helped her save all her precious data, family pics, videos, bank stuff, pay stubs etc. by putting it into my own PC so she doesn't lose it. Helped her with buying a new SSD, which would also help her with the speed of the laptop, making it snappy and actually usable. Did not bill her anything for any of the work that I did, which took over 1 week as the hard drive was so far gone. She only had to pay for the new SSD, which went into her laptop. Got a call a year later telling me that her laptop stopped working and that it was my fault cause I had tinkered with it a year prior. Returned a found wallet after several hours of searching for the owner or someone who could get it to them, as it contained quite a bit of sensitive information and valuables. No contact info though. Was told that it seemed like I went to way too much trouble to return a wallet and was accused of taking some of the stuff that was inside. Maybe you wouldn't return a lost wallet, dude. And maybe you would consider taking the person's stuff. But that's not how I was raised, so don't project your crap on me after I just spent 3 hours walking around in near freezing temperatures to get your social security card, 3 credit cards, license, $200, and 2 medical IDs back to you. All these wallet stories are making me think that the only thing to do upon finding a wallet is to take the cash and leave it. In college back in 80s, I was teacher's assistant for an independent study class, just free for all app development. I had 2 years real-world dev experience at an aerospace company, and was the first to interview at this dream startup my senior year. 4 of the students also sent in their resumes to the company. At the end of my interview, the company CTO told me we normally only hire people with master's degrees, but with your experience and expertise, we'll hire you. He then asked about the 4 other guys who I was TAing. They said none of them have any experience at all, and don't look too good on paper. I go, no, they're great, very creative, very intelligent, fibbed a fair amount. I thought it would be cool to know 4 people in this new company, 400 miles away. They were hired. After graduation, I married my college sweetie, but the 4 of them immediately left for the new job. When I get up there 3 weeks later, all of them snub me, like I didn't exist. We had all been thick as thieves before graduation, all very friendly. I went over and above helping them with their projects. I get them their freaking jobs, and they ditch me at every company party and other social gathering. 2 of them are still there to this day, very high up in the company. I never told anyone what I did for them, never threw it in their face, so to speak. For reasons still unknown, they all decided, when I was on my honeymoon, frick him. P.S. It was my first job out of college, and it really made me think twice about sticking my neck out for anyone professionally, for decades. I work at a vet hospital. One weekend, not during normal business hours, our kennel worker calls to say one of our boarding dogs is in respiratory distress, vomiting and turning blue. The doctor and I get there, administer oxygen and some injections, get him stable and call the owner. He's brachycephalic and likely had aspiration pneumonia and could have died without treatment. The owner approved treatment as well as transfer to the ER for overnight monitoring. We take the dog to the ER. He does very well there and we pick him up the next morning. It comes time for the owner to pick him up and he refuses to pay, claiming we shouldn't have treated him. He had to pay the ER bill, would never board with us again, etc etc. I don't know what to say. Sorry for saving your dog's life. Also, he approved everything over the phone. That thing that happened in China a few years back. Dude in car sees injured woman in the street, then takes her to hospital. The woman then accuses him of assaulting her and takes him to court. Chinese courts rule in her favor and jail the man. I've seen other stories like this out of China. Somehow the helper ends up getting charged or fined. That's why you see videos of people just walking past an injured person. The only thing that comes to mind is I'll let homeless acquaintances stay the night at my house, and one of them stole one of my cute bras after using my shower. If she needed a bra that bad she could have asked. LOL. After reading the first line, anything less than feces smeared all over your bathroom is pretty much a win for you. Found a stray dog on my way to school one morning. I was already late, but I doubled back to my house and grabbed a bowl of dog food and water for her. Took a picture and posted it through a service on Facebook which allowed people to post lost and found pets to people in the area. We live in a really rural area of the US, so it wasn't unusual for people to let their pets roam. I figured she had just gotten lost on her way home and that with food and fresh water she'd find her way back if her owner didn't find her first. It wasn't very hot or very cold out at all, and she seemed fine if not a bit tired. Within minutes, People were sending me direct messages through my number on Facebook calling me a bad person for not bringing her into my house. I truthfully hadn't even thought about doing that morning, because to trap her inside my house with my other pets wasn't really going to help anyone in that situation. Within hours people were getting angrier and angrier. I took my name out of the post and deleted my number off of Facebook. People were so upset about this though that the people who had saved the info from their first harassing message posted it to the thread for more angry people to find. By the end of the day, I was getting messages to kill myself for not helping the dog at least once an hour. The dog and her owner were reunited, though no help of the post I made BTW, so I deleted the post entirely. The next few days a few people still persisted, but by the end of the week everybody had forgotten. I'm still angry about it. Jesus H. Christ, that infuriated me to read. Whoa, sorry that turned ugly. Best friend quit her job and needed a place to stay. She lived under our stairs like Harry Potter. She was my best friend for 4 years. I never asked for gas money to drive her to places. But she started eating our food and didn't want to pay for toilet paper cause my cats had destroyed a roll one time. We managed to repair our relationship when she moved out. We even took a trip to California together. Then her new place and new roommate was awful. Okay, moved back in with us. Left all her stuff unpacked in the kitchen for 6 to 8 hours at a time when she was at school or work. Lots of small roommate bickering back and forth. Got to the point that I ignored her so we wouldn't fight anymore. She decided I had to pay half of her rent because of me ignoring her. She moved when I told her to gtfo. Nowhere near as bad as most stories I've read on here. But I miss my friend all the time. My heart broke. It's been 6 years. TLDR. Try to help my friend and she turned out to be a see you next Tuesday. My ex-wife is going through this right now. After I moved out she got her BFF to move in with her because otherwise she would need to move out of the apartment. Well, the BFF is a piece of crap who is always shortchanging her on bills and complains about everything and never cleans. Literally never. So glad I don't have to deal with that. Years ago, pre-Venmo times, my friend needed a small loan. On the way back from drawing some cash out for her I got mugged. They took my wallet containing all the cash I had drawn, plus all my cards, so I had to cancel everything, as well as let my friend down and be out of cash myself for the weekend. Fail. This is why I always go to gas station ATMs. I'll take the withdrawal charge over being paranoid and looking over my shoulder at a creepy empty parking lot at night any day. Someone I thought was my best friend agreed to be roommates for my first house rental, along with a third friend. I let her in when she didn't have a job yet or any payment for the security deposit. 2 months later she finally got a job, but then proceeded to have friends over and party into the early hours 3 or 4 times a week, having older friends buy alcohol. She asked if a fourth friend and the girl's boyfriend could move in as well, and I hedged and said I talked to my mom about it, since the rental was in her name. She tried moving them in that evening while I was out. I came home to a foreign, cigarette-permeated couch with a couple of teens smoking pot in my living room, complete with German cockroaches scuttling out of it. I lost my crap and told them to take it back outside. I hadn't said yes. I don't want pot smoked here. This and the alcohol would mean big trouble for my mom's job if discovered. Get these people I don't know out, etc. They left the next morning, but I never did get rid of the roaches. I dealt with it for another 2 months before telling her that the partying needed to stop on weekdays, and she needed to pay her part of the rent and utilities or find a new place to live in the next month. I didn't even demand back rent. Trying to be nice again, she retaliated by calling party friends and having them move her out that night. Afterwards I discovered that she flipped her cat's litter box in her carpeted room, smashed the coffee urn, flushed a bunch of clothing, and stole my Game Boy DSi and all games from the drawer it was stored in. She also stole a few other things I don't remember anymore. It's been almost 10 years. I was mostly trying to stay out of her way because I hate confrontation, so missed it all happening. The worst thing, though, the worst was that she looked me dead in the eye and told me that my dad loved her like a daughter. Probably true, and would be ashamed of me treating her like this. Less than a year after my dad had committed suicide, my heart turned to stone that day. She's made several attempts to contact me over the years, always looking for money. Frick. TLDR. Ex-friend refused to pay rent, trashed my house, then told me my dead dad would be ashamed of me. I played a benefit concert to help the church buy a new commercial vacuum cleaner and other maintenance equipment. Thereafter, every time I'd go in on weekdays to practice, the sexton took pleasure in running the loud vacuum cleaner at the same time, just to annoy me. He'd wait each day, no matter what hour I'd show, to begin vacuuming. Sounds to me more like he is so grateful for your generosity that he waits for you so you can see your gift at work. Either that or maybe he's just a dong. We were regulars on karaoke night at a bar and it was usually full every week. At some point, my buddy goes to the owner to tell him that he was just in the bathroom and that the store door was kicked in. As soon as we'd paid up, the bouncer comes over and reluctantly tells us we have to go, with the owner saying it had to have been one of us. The bouncer kind of shrugged like he wanted to believe us, but the owner is the boss and wouldn't relent. Obviously I never went back. Back when I worked retail, I had a customer come in looking for a specific product. We had similar products, but this one had certain specs he needed, but none were on the shelf. No problem, I'm happy to help him. I grab the scanner and scan the label on the shelf. We have a whole bunch in inventory, but they're not out. It's too many of them to be stolen or in customers' carts. You can only fit 1 or 2 of these products on the shelf at once, or for a simple error in the system. I'm talking to the customer the whole way through, letting them know what's going on, and he seems to understand the frustration. I tell him I'll go in the back to check. They are probably on a shelf and someone just forgot to log them in. I go back to our warehouse and look in the right area. Nothing. I look in adjacent areas. Nothing. I pull out product to see if they got shoved behind something. Nothing. At this point, I've enlisted the help of the mid-level manager, and she's helping me look in the back and out on the floor to see if they've been misplaced. Maybe there's some new display we weren't told about and they've all been moved there. This is a fucky retail store. They do crap like that. So we check. Nothing. I've been keeping the guy apprised, and he's clearly frustrated, so I'm trying to help him out still. I don't want him to walk away angry, so I ask him if I can help him find it online or at another store. He needs it today, he says, so another store it is. I check and there is a decent quantity at a nearby store. I give them a call to make sure they're actually in stock, to avoid this whole fiasco happening again somewhere else. They answer, check, and sure enough they have a bunch. They're even going to set one aside for him. Great. I relay the news, and he walks off, seemingly satisfied. The next day I work, my mid-level manager tells me the product was actually in the back, but not on the warehouse side. It had been shoved on a pallet of stuff way up on the highest shelf in the loading dock area. There are some warehouse things there, mostly for high volume items, and this is not one, but otherwise it's temporary space and it's supposed to get cleared out before another truck gets unloaded. Which is how it was found, I guess. So, not my fault. A problem in the back room. I assume it's solved and go about my day. Later, I get called to the manager's office. I've got 2 managers staring me down, asking me what happened with the customer and that product. Apparently the customer called to complain that we didn't have it, even after telling him we did. I explained the story, but they're apparently just mad and looking for someone to blame. No, it wasn't the warehouse unloading crew that's the problem. The problem was me telling a customer we had the item in stock. So much for me helping some jackass find the thing he needed today. Frick you, jackass. I hope you never find anything you're looking for in a store again. Stuff like this happened to me in the past, so now I tell people, computer says we've got it. Now I just need to figure out if it's lying to me. Always have the escape route of computer hiccup for anything and everything. I was driving into a petrol station and saw a cyclist lying unconscious on the side of the road, obviously having been sideswiped by a car. I ran into the petrol station and alerted the attendant, got them to call ambulance, police, etc., and just generally took charge of the situation. By this stage a small crowd had developed, and a woman started accusing me of being the one who hit the cyclist. Because why would you care so much if you weren't responsible? When the police came, I saw her immediately run over to them and start pointing in my direction. The police then came and asked for my details as a witness. Fortunately the cyclist recovered consciousness and described a car that was obviously not mine. But I'll always wonder what could have happened if he'd died or not recovered. The woman who accused me looked genuinely pissed off that she wasn't going to get me in trouble. I personally think that there's a higher chance that it might be the woman who accused you to be guilty of it. Hahaha. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.